So I'd like to start with the first prayer in Torah. Who prayed first in the Torah?
Yaakov, Yitzchak, and say Yaakov.
Okay. Yaakov we have, Abraham. Adam. When did Adam pray?
I don't have the source.
Yaakov and Abraham, I can find references. Do we have anything earlier? Cain, at what point? Cain brought a korban, he brought a mincha. I don't know about prayer. Say it again? Noah, I don't even know if he prayed, but it's an interesting
Noah
thought.
didn't say anything.
You could say anything, but I'd
No,
like
Noah didn't say anything.
Noah didn't say anything. Well, anyway, so it's a surprise answer, unless anyone... It's a surprise answer. If you turn to the second side here, it's Bereshit Perek Dalet. So again, my direction here is to go through the beginnings here. And so at the beginning of Tefillah, the context was after Adam, Hava, Cain, and Hevel, all outside of Gan Eden. So they're all outside of Gan Eden. Cain's already killed off Hevel, and Cain now is settling himself down. So let's take just a quick look at these Pesukim. Pasuk Tet Zayin, Vayeseh Cain milifnei Adonai, Vayeshev be'eretz not kidmat Eden. So there he is settling down. Vayeda Cain et ishto vatar vateled et Hanoch. Cain gives birth to a child. His name is Hanoch. Vayhi boneh ir vayikra shem ha'ir keshem beno Hanoch. And Cain builds a city and names it after his son Hanoch. So what's taking place already in the beginning of the Pesukim? They're outside and they're resettling. They're finding a settlement outside of Gan Eden, I guess we'd call it in the real world. And part of settling is having children. Vayivaled lahanoch et irad, ve'irad yaladet mehuyael. So here's the birth of different children. Umehuyael yaladet metushael, metushael yaladet lamech. And so here's the birth of children and grandchildren to Adam and to Cain and so forth. And the Pesukim go on and describe what's taking place with these children. Take a look at Pasuk Chaf. There's someone who's born, his name is Ada, Vateled Ada et Yaval, Hu haya avi yoshev ohel umikne. So there's a description of this fellow, what's his name? He's Yaval, and he's Yoshev ohel umikne. What does that mean he did? He's a shepherd of some sort, so we have an early shepherd. Veshem achiv Yuval hu haya avi, that was Ada, avi kol tofes kinor ve'ugav. So what's Yuval doing in this pasuk? What's kinor ve'ugav? Instruments. So he's so he's a musician. Vesila gam hi yaleda et Tuval Cain lotesh kol choresh nechoshet ubarzel. What's Tuval Cain doing?
Metalworking.
Metalworking.
Whatever you call it.
So what's taking place at this point? We have proliferation of people, and we have almost an industrial revolution. We have creativity. This is the birth of creativity. This is people who begin playing instruments, who begin having professions, and begin working with metals. And what's the immediate aftermath of all of this progress in the world, the early progress? Vayomer lemech lenashav, Ada v'Sila shema'am koli neshe lemech. So Lemech turns to his wives, Ada and Sila, and says, listen to me. Ha'azena imrati ki ish haragti lefitz'i v'yeled lehaburati. Lemech now admits that he made a mistake. What did Lemech do? He murdered. So what has taken place? Progress in terms of our ability to inhabit this world, but we're kind of receding in terms of morality. Lemech goes ahead and kills. And so you're all wondering, so where does prayer come in? Well, right after this, prayer comes in. Right after this, in Pasuk Chaveh, Adam has another child. It's, to the best of our knowledge, his last child. What's the name of his last child? Shet. Okay, and Shet also has a child. That's Adam's grandson. What's his name? Pasuk Chavav. Enosh. And then, most importantly for us, what does the Pasuk say? Az huhal likro b'shem Adonai. So now, Enosh, a person most of the people in the room probably never spent much time thinking about, says the Pasuk, as huhal. What does the word huhal mean? He began likro, to cry out, b'shem Adonai, in the name of God. So ostensibly, in the most simple interpretation of this Pasuk, there's the first prayer. The first prayer is in Perek Dalet of Bereshit. Of all contexts, after a murder, after progress in terms of our creativity, in terms of our inhabitants of the world, comes about this fellow named Enosh, a grandson of Adam, and he's praying. Is he praying or is he doing something else? Rashi's interpretation is it wasn't actually a prayer. He's following the Chachamim. They see Enosh as being the bad guy over here. Instead of seeing Likro B'Shem Hashem as crying out in the name of God, it's crying the name of God to things. So he would look, says Rashi, at grass and at stones and say, that's God, and that's God, and that's God. So Enosh gets kind of thrown behind and thrown out in terms of his positive vision. Rashbam, Mefarsheh HaPeshat, right? This is the first prayer. So again, what took place over here? Our first prayer in Tanakh is from a fellow named Enosh, according to the Peshat and Pesukim, and it's in what context? After progress and then descent and murder. Okay, so what I want to do is to now contextualize that further, to take that as my paradigm of prayer. Say, this is what prayer is about. Something about this, it's first mentioned in Torah, is going to describe to me about what I should see in prayer always. So how are we going to do that? The way I'd like to do that is to now really pan out, to see Bereshit, Parashat Bereshit in its entirety. Not every pasuk in its entirety, but to kind of get a full vision of this. So I just start all the way back at the beginning. That's our beginning of prayer. Now back at the beginning. The creation of Adam. I'm not going to start with creation of the world. Not for our issues. Creation of Adam. Bereshit Perek Aleph. Vayivra Elohim et Adam besalmo, v'selem Elohim bara oto, zachar u'nekema bara otam. So in Bereshit Perek Aleph, description of creation of man and woman. What's their command? Man and woman in Bereshit Perek Aleph. What are they supposed to do? Peru urvu. That's their command. Vayvarech otam Elohim. Procreate, fill the land. Vayomer lahem Elohim. Peru urvu. Umilu et haaretz v'kivshua. Udu b'tgat hayam v'of hashamayim v'chol chaya haromeset al haaretz. In short, Adam and Chava are tasked with doing something, or procreating. What's the idea of procreating? Couldn't God have done that? Couldn't God have created millions of people? What's he doing with this command to Adam and Chava, and in turn to us? What? Let's kind of make it a little more general. Instead of looking at it as having children, what's he telling them to do?
Responsibility.
Responsibility to do what? Look at the top of the page. To partner with God, right? Isn't that possible? Isn't God saying over here, listen, I created the world, and I set things into motion, but now I need you guys to finish it up. So the way I want you guys to fill this land, to inhabit it, to bring about life is by doing exactly that. Bring about life. Finish the job that I began. It's a pretty fundamental statement over there. To a certain extent, it's a description of what our task in life is. Our task is to partner with God in creation. Because God created the world in an incomplete fashion, with just two people, so then go and have more children. Right? Isn't that the statement over here in Bereshit Perek Aleph? So context over here, beginning of creation of man and woman, you guys are my partners, says God. Right, then we go to Bereshit Perek Bet. Bereshit Perek Bet changes some of the details in a nuanced fashion. Instead of Adam and Chava at once coming about in the description of Psukim, they're separated. Their creation is separated, right? And you remember what happens over here in Bereshit Perek Bet? Seniors, didn't you learn this last year? Say it again.
Does that Chava is made from Adam?
Yes, Chava is made from Adam. Now, the way that we get, Sammy, you're next. The way that we get to that, right? The way that we get to the creation of Chava from Adam is by initially describing Adam's creation. So we initially describe Adam's creation. Bereshit Perek Bet, Pasuk Dalet. Ele toledot hashamayim. Before that, hold on to that. I forgot to do Bereshit Perek Dalet. Okay, so before we get to that, hold the thought, Luis. Before we get to that, when do they actually have children? That's Bereshit Perek Dalet. When do they actually have children? Later. What's later? After they're kicked out, says Shelley. There it is. Right after they get kicked out. Right after they're out of Gan Eden. Right. Bereshit Perek Dalet. So I'm giving you a lot of letters here, but that's the idea. Bereshit Perek Aleph is creation of the world, and then beginning of Adam and Chava. Bereshit Perek Bet, more of the details on it. Bereshit Perek Gimal is Nahash, sin. Bereshit Perek Dalet, you're out of here. What happens in the very first Pesukim Bereshit Perek Dalet? Adam yada et Chava ishto. ותעל ותלד את קין, ותאמר קניתי איש את אדוני, ותוסף ללדת את אחיו, את הבל, ויהי הבל רועה צאן, וקין היה עובד אדמה. So it's only after banishment from Gan Eden, let's put it in different words, it's only after eating from Etz Hadat, only after sin, that they actually fulfill their mission. What's that all about? Why? Why didn't they fulfill this initially? And maybe you'll argue it really did take place earlier and the Torah is only presenting it later. Maybe. Why is it presented like this? Why is the birth of Cain and Hevel, in other words, the fulfillment of the partnership of Adam and Chava, only taking place after they're banished from Gan Eden? So that's for that. Now we get back to Luis's point. Now we get back to Bereshit, Perek Bet. So let's talk about creation of Chava in another prism. So here's how Bereshit, Perek Bet goes. We're going to describe to you the world, but we're going to fast forward, get past creation of each one of the days, get to Adam and Chava. What happens with Adam and Chava? Well, before Adam and Chava, there's little rain because there's no grass for man to work, or there's no man to work the Pasuk Zayin, to work the ground. Vayiser Adonai Elohim et ha'adam, afar min ha'adama, vayipach be'apav nishmat hayim, vayi ha'adam lenefesh chaya. So here's creation of man. Stop. What are we waiting for next? So Luis says, well, now we take Chava from Adam. Does that take place here?
No,
Vayita, what happens here?
takes place at the end. The
Why?
last
So what's in the middle? What takes place here from Pasuk Het through Pasuk, well, Yod Zayin? I skipped a few in the middle there. What is that? What's that a description of?
man's duty.
Man's duty in the world, in Gan Eden specifically. So it's a description of man's duty, which is, over here, to work the land. In addition to describing working the land, there are the rules on man. What are the rules on man?
Don't eat.
You can't eat from specific trees, right? So you can't eat from Etz Hadat. I don't know. So it might be an Etz Haim as well, right? And so that's the description over here. You can't. So we'll read it in just a second. I'm sorry to throw another question at you, but keep in mind the question of why is the procreation? Why are they only fulfilling their mission after being thrown out? Another question. Simple storyline. Adam is created. We take a pause to describe his mission and the trees in Gan Eden, and then we get to the creation of Chava. Why is that? What's the break in the middle? Describe it either as creation of the Gan and then Adam and Chava, or Adam and Chava and then the Gan. And if it took place in this order, why did it take place in this order? So, Vayita Adonai Elohim Gan Be'eden Mekedem Vayasem Sham et Ha'adam Asher Yasser. So the description over here is just Adam is placed in this Gan. Vayatzmach Adonai Elohim min ha'adama kol etz nechmad amarev tov lema'achal ve'etz ha'chayim b'toch ha'gan ve'etz ha'da'at tov ha'ra. So it's a description of these trees and specifically the etz ha'da'at tov ha'ra for our purposes. Vayikach Adonai Elohim et ha'adam. God takes man. Vayanichehu be'gan Eden le'ovda ve'ul'shomra. Here's his mission. You have to work and safeguard this garden. Vayisav Adonai Elohim al ha'adam lemor mikol etz hagan achol tochel. You can eat from all the trees here. However, me'etz hada'at tov hara lo tochal mimenu. I don't want you to eat specifically from this tree. Ki biyom acholcha mimenu motamut. When you do eat from it, you will surely die. We'll come back to that point, maybe. And then the creation of Chava. Why? Why are we breaking it up? Is there a significance of gardens to relationships between men and women? Is there an association between our relationships and botany? What is the idea over here of having this garden and rules connected to it only before the creation of Chava? And then Chava is created, though. Keep that question in mind. Chava is created, and they embrace in some way or fashion. And the Pesukim describe in Pasuk Chavdalad, Al ken ya'azov ish et aviv et imo, v'davak v'ishto v'hayu lebasar echad. Coming together, man and woman. Vayihyu shenehem arumim ha'adam v'ishto v'lo yitboshashu. That's the concluding sentence. What's the concluding sentence after this creation of man and woman? They were naked and they weren't embarrassed. Is that significant? I mean, it's foreshadowing of some sort for the later parts. But is that significant to the initial relationship between Adam and Chava? The fact that they weren't naked and that they were naked and weren't embarrassed. I mean, what does that have to do with my storyline? I mean, you could tell me that later on. It's almost as if there's some significance to that at this point. Any thoughts on that? Wonderful. It's a great crowd tonight. So here's, I'm going to throw a thought at you. Nakedness, to a certain extent, and being ashamed of it or embarrassed about it, means that I'm able to understand what it means. I'm able to see the sexual innuendos in it. I'm able to see see it as something that's enticing or something that's off grounds. At this point, Adam and Chava, perhaps the pasuk is describing, haven't grown that type of desire. This is prior to desire. When will they get that desire? When God punishes them or before God punishes them?
Sounds like we had.
What, Sonny?
Sounds like before, based on your voice.
Great, I appreciate that. You want to explain it?
No, I don't have any clue.
I thought you were going to give Mara. You have to be able to deduce. So before, what happens? I mean, what happens in the next period? Yes.
I think that before they're very they're blinded by all the beauties of the garden, and they're on their high.
Right.
And then once they sin, they realize that they did something wrong, and they're brought back to reality.
And that brings them down in a certain respect?
Yeah.
From eating from it, it makes them realistic in a sense. Okay.
Or doing what Hashem told them not to do.
And that brings them into the real world. So they were on. Now, what specifically triggers that? Yeah, Louise?
Isn't it the Nachash?
Isn't it the Nahash? Why do you say that?
Because he's the one who, is the one to convince them to eat from the
So
tree.
he's
and
the conniving, convincing
bringing
one
about
to
the
get them
desire
together,
to-
desires. I got it all. What's the description of Nahash, for example?
Arum.
He was Arum. Isn't that interesting? What does the word Arum mean over there, by the way, actually?
Yeah.
Smooth, sly, conniving, something like that, right? It doesn't mean naked, but it uses the same word, right? The beginning of Perek Gimal says, "V'hanachash haya arum mikol hayat hasadeh." So in my mind, that already triggers something. We were talking about nakedness just a few minutes ago. We used the word arumim. So he said, Adam and Chava don't have that arum status. They don't have that desire. The Nahash now is representative of that desire. The Nahash is going to bring that desire to them. Now, how does he bring that desire to them? By convincing them to eat from Eitz Hadat. Now, what happens when they eat from Eitz Hadat? What does Pesukim say?
They get embarrassed. They run.
Not only that, they realize before the embarrassment that they're naked. Right, that's what the Pasuk says. And as a result, they're embarrassed and hide from God. So what took place in an interesting fashion over here is, hold on to the knowledge point, but it took place in an interesting fashion over here is, we began the life of Adam and Chava. There was little to no desire to do what? To fulfill their mission. Their mission meant you're attracted to the other one in a sexual fashion. They had none of that. And they were therefore frozen and incapable of fulfilling their mission. God said, Peru urvu, and they couldn't do it. Or they were not driven to doing it. What is the ironic reality? How'd they come to fulfill that? By sinning. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that what's taking place over here? Isn't that what we see in front of us? So the Nahash, as the Pesukim describe, says to them in Pasuk Dal, "Vayom Nahash el Haisha lo mot tumutun." Don't worry about it. You're not going to die. Ki yodea Elohim ki biyom acholchem mimenu v'nifkechu einechem v'yitem ki Elohim yodei tov v'ra. God knows your eyes will open up, and you'll be ki Elohim. You will know tov v'ra. What do those words tov and ra mean is the $1 million question. But in reality, what does the pasuk describe happening? Pasuk zayin vatipakachna einei shenehem. Their eyes do open up. Vayede'u, and they know ki erumimhem. The first thing they notice, the first description of their enlightened state is their nakedness, which in our minds perhaps means they're open to this desire. They're open to this world of sexuality. And in turn, when God calls to them, they hide. Now they're embarrassed. And they explain, we're embarrassed because of our nakedness. It means that the only way, in a paradoxical fashion, the only way they were able to fulfill their mission was through first sinning. Okay, well, that's a little bit of a sobering thought. Does it mean in order to get close, I need to get far? But let me think about it just in our general picture now. Back to the first point in the class. What was the first point we discussed after Tefillah? The second point, right? Second point we discussed was the fact that the command was Peru Urvu, which meant you need to be my partner, says God. You need to be my partner in building this world. Now they're finally partnering up with God, right? And isn't that what they're doing? They're finally partnering up with Him by Peru Urvu. At the same moment that they partner up with Him to fulfill this creation of the world, they're also parting ways with Him. He told them not to eat from that tree. So in the same moment that Adam and Hava are finally able to fulfill their side of this partnership, they look at God and kick Him out. It's like, someone's begging you to come into a deal with them, or come into an agreement, or to study with them, or to whatever situation you're in, right? And so they're begging you to come in, you finally go for it, and then they throw you out the door and grab your things. That's really what took place over here. They went against God, and by doing so, fulfilled, half of the mission, and now are standing as if they're the only ones involved. Well, that's the context. Now we make it to Perek Dalet. Now we make it to the Perek of prayer. So what happens in Perek Dalet? This is what we began the class with. What happens in Perek Dalet? They're outside of Gan Eden. Cain and Hevel have been born. Cain begins the Perek in our minds by building a city. Why is he building a city? He's establishing himself. I don't need the protection of God. I'm establishing myself. Mankind now goes and is creative. We're, involved in metals, and we're involved in instruments and music, and we're involved in all that other stuff. We now have taken on this autonomous approach to life, and we are in charge. There's no partnership any longer. It's not like initially we were just walking a straight path behind you, God. Now we're not walking next to you at all, God. Now we think this is our world. Lemech kills a person because Lemech has decided he's in charge. And from all of this rises up a man named Enosh. What does Enosh do? Az hu hal likro b'shem Adonai. What an appropriate time to pray. At the moment, at the juncture in time when Enosh realizes that everything has fallen apart, that our partnership with God has failed miserably. We're fulfilling our side of filling the earth, but we're not fulfilling the side of walking together with you, God. He says, wait a second. Maybe now it's time to pray. Maybe now it's time to reestablish or to finally establish some sort of connection in creating this world together with you, God. And so that's prayer in this context. So in my mind, if you take a giant step back and think about your own lives, our own lives, I speak for myself, but I think for all of us, a constant struggle we have is how much effort do we expend in life and how much do we turn to God and say, we hope that you fill in the rest. There's no simple answer to that question. We'll live our entire lives with that dilemma. How much does God know and how much does He not know? How much is He controlling and how much do we control? Those are philosophical questions which we'll never have complete answers to. But what I can tell you, and for me, this is prayer. This is Tefillah. As much as we try and successfully do establish ourselves and are successful in our endeavors, at certain moments we kind of start losing ourselves. We're starting to start losing ourselves in our true identity sense. We kind of start believing that we're in charge. It's those moments that prayer is most critical to. Because Tefillah is about those moments, taking that step back and saying, this is not just about me. I'm doing the Peru Urvu finally. But am I doing it together with you, God? That's what Tefillah is. How long did this last? Did we pray successfully? Enosh is the prayer, according to Rashba. Did we continue praying? Were we able to keep this partnership with God? Anyone know what the next parasha is after Parashat Bereshit? Noah. What happens in Parashat Noah? Destruction of the world. Do you think we were doing a good job or not? Probably not. Now, what would be the best way to describe in our description of these Pisukim? What's the best way to say people stopped thinking about God and they were only thinking about themselves? Until now, what has been our code for people thinking only about themselves? What are they doing besides the building cities and all that stuff? They're having children, right? Having children was man's own attempt. God, you wanted me to do it. Now I have the desire to do it after I sin. What comes directly before the Mabul? The last perek in Parashat Bereshit. It's at the bottom of the page. Bereshit perek vav. Vayhi ki hechel ha'adam larov al penei ha'adama ubanot yulidu lahem. A description of man being all over the place with a lot of daughters. Already, the description of births, in my mind, is somewhat significant. Vayir'u b'nei ha'elohim et benot ha'adam ki tobot hena. And so these b'nei Elohim, hard to know exactly who we're referring to, but they see the girls or the women and they see they're good. Vayikhu lahem nashim mikol asher baharu. The introduction to sinning is about getting involved, boys and girls. Now, again, that's not to say at all that you're not supposed to get married, not supposed to be involved. The description in Parashat Bereshit over here is to tell us this is man and woman deciding we're in charge. We are deciding mikol asher baharu, everything we want. They lost the sense of partnership. Now, you could potentially read this Pesukim maybe about some sort of dominance of man over woman. It's not exactly clear. What's clear over here is there's men and women coming together. What's bad about that? The only thing that I can say definitively that's bad about that is the context of Bereshit. Man and woman coming together means for us, we're going after our own desires, and we're abandoning that partnership. In fact, the pasuk says in pasuk dal, "Hanefilim hayu ba'aretz bayamim hahem, v'gam acharechen asher yavo b'nei ha'elohim el benot ha'adam v'yaledu lahem." So again, in a different, nuanced way, all we really know is taking place is a lot of children. That's a bad thing? Well, in Bereshit, if it's not done together, in our words, with Tefillah, yeah, that's not such a great thing. In fact, Cain, right before building that city, what did the pasuk describe about his building the city? It's back in Bereshit Perek Dalet, pasuk Yodain, Vayeda Cain et ishto, Vatar vateled et Hanoch. First, there's the birth of a child. What's bad about a child? Well, it's probably a beautiful Brit Milah. I mean, what could be the problem over here? Vayhi boneh ir vayikra shem ha'ir kishem beno Hanoch. But then he asserts himself as this is my own business. This is me and my son. In short, what I'm suggesting is that Parashat Bereshit describes for us in the center of it the core and the principle of what prayer is really all about. And prayer is supposed to ground us in terms of our partnership with God. Our mission, as described at the beginning of Bereshit, is partnering with God for creation. That's described in Bereshit through having children and through working the land. Now, how do you get there? Not simple to get there. If you're just a simple-minded, just wanting to follow God type of person, Bereshit says, sometimes it'll be difficult. If you don't have those desires, you don't have that inclination to be your own dominant person and personality, you might not make it there. It might mean, in an ironic fashion, having to go against God in order to get that desire and in turn to fulfill your mission. But once you got there, and I hope it doesn't take sinning to get there. Once you got there, where are you standing now? Are you a business partner with God? Or are you standing as an individual who thinks it's your world? The tragedy of Adam and Chava and Cain and Lamech and all those after them was that they stood past that connection with God. There was no longer any partnership. The children that were being born were not their side of the deal. It was their life because it was their world. Enosh wakes up to everything. Enosh wakes up to a reality of destruction and tragedy all around him in which he sees people have forgotten that partnership with God. What are we all about? The reason we're having children is to fulfill our mission. But our mission is a partnership with God. It's not to have a sole proprietorship in this business. And in turn, Enosh, in the first prayer gesture to God, in my mind, designates and describes for us really what prayer is all about. Prayer is about being able to ground us and say, as successful as you are and should be in life, stop for a second. Realize that your successful endeavors is really part of a partnership. It's part and parcel of this connection with God, in which although you might not be able to describe how much is you and how much is Him, they both need to be there. It needs to be a creation of God in Sheshet Yemei Bereshit, and now your part, not just your part and forgetting about the beginning part. In my mind, Bereshit, Perek Aleph through Perek Vav, in this ironic way, describes for me what prayer is all about. It's about rebuilding that partnership. Any questions, comments? Yes.
So, are we saying that the ideal situation would be that Enosh were to pray once they were thriving and playing instruments?
Yes.
That would be ideal?
Yes.
But he didn't realize it till after?
I think I don't know if it's until afterwards. I don't know if he was alive beforehand. I think he grows up in this society and it's like, what's going on? But yeah, that's the way it's supposed to be. We're supposed to be successful. We're not just supposed to be praying, but we're not just supposed to be creative.
How could it be that that we need to sin in order to?
Right. So it's a great question. I don't have a wonderful answer, but I have thoughts on the matter. So I'll give you an example. Well, I'll start with the Ma'amar Chachamim. The Gemara says that Teshubah, the concept of repentance, of Teshubah, was created before the world was created. What type of statement is that? I mean, what do you mean? Was God setting us up for failure, to sin? So I don't know if he was setting us up to sin, but I think it's a reality in relationships that in order to grow a relationship, in order to blossom, sometimes there has to be that fall. So I'm not saying that we can't live an ideal life in which we don't have to have those falls. Although I will tell you the following, okay? I remember a friend of mine spoke at his engagement party once, and he said I never got in a fight with my girlfriend over the course of all our dating years. And so he was really proud of that, and I said to him after, I'm really nervous. I said it like with a smile, but I was serious. I said, I'm nervous for your marriage. I mean, if you never got in a fight, how do you know how strong this was? He's married with children and a wonderful life together. But in short, what I'm saying is I think it's pretty realistic. I think in terms of establishing who I am and understanding your side and my role in this relationship, yeah, the reality is sometimes we need a fall. Sometimes we need a mess up. I don't think that God was setting us up and damning us from the beginning. I think the way it played out makes a lot of sense, though. Charlie.
Adam and Chava never failed if they never sinned and they were never kicked out of Gan Eden, then it could have been that they never would have had children and the world would never have been populated anyway.
Right, so let me give you a thought on that, okay? So Shelley says, if we never would have been kicked out, so then potentially we never would have gotten that desire. If we never got the desire, what would have happened to the world? Here's my thought on it, okay? It's going to play with your mind a little. It's going to play with your mind a little. What was Adam's punishment for eating from the tree? Beside that, death. Remember? Ki biyom acholchem mimenu mot, right, you're going to die. Now, one second. By eating from the tree, he was going to die. It means before eating from the tree, he was going to live eternally. Why did that change? It's like some sort of irrational punishment. Like you ate from it, now you're going to die. And did he die right away? He didn't. And then what happens at the end also in Perek Vav? There's lots of children born, and once they're born, God gets all angry and he says, 120 years and then you guys die. Because we had children, now we need to die. Unless the idea goes like this. By having children and filling the world, it means there's continuity to the world. Before there was a chance for that continuity, before they were interested in having children, yeah, Adam, you'll live forever. You want to know why? Because there's nothing after you. Do you follow? In other words, it's not. So Adam was set up in a situation in which he was going to live forever if he didn't have children. The irony over here is once he sins and is able to have children because of that sin, well, now, death sentence. What's that death sentence? It's more a reality in my mind. Right? Do you follow? In other words, now there's continuity. You're not going to be living forever. And he doesn't die immediately, but the idea is now you will die, which wouldn't have necessarily happened earlier. Yes?
So why did Hashem change his judgment? Like he said that he was going to kill him on the day.
Well, that's what I'm telling you. He said, Biyom acholchem mimenu. I don't have a great answer to that, unless it's a death sentence on the day. Do you follow? In other words, on the day, now you're destined for death, which they did. And before that, they wouldn't have had that. Any other questions? Any other comments? Sammy, you gotta establish yourself. That's the best you could do. Yeah, Mike.
Why did God want Adam and Rabbi to create children after seeing the incident and all that? It wasn't that God made a mistake. It was man.
No, God did not make any mistakes here.
Man made a mistake.
Yes.
From the tree.
Yes. I mean, isn't that our challenge in life? I mean, why did God create man? We're here to partner with God and make something special. Now, by definition, it means the world is an imperfect world. So it means He made it an imperfect world, and He made it our mission to make it as perfect as it can be. And that's, I think that's the general answer and direction to you as well. All right, thank you so much.